All right, now let's look at the maritime sector and that report from Alliance Commercial showing us some good news and some not so good news. So we see there some of the findings from that report from 2023. We know that up to 90% of international trade is transported across oceans, and the safety is very important when we talk. So let's see the key highlights of that report. In 2023, global shipping fleet experienced a record low of 26 vessel losses. That's down by a quarter year on year. That is good news. But not so good news. Piracy incidents globally increased in 2023. And unfortunately, Africa's Gulf of Guinea is a hotspot for some of those. It's a hotspot for vessel hijacking, crew kidnapping, and hostages. And we still have that Red Sea incident. Still tension in the Red Sea still going on. And obviously that has affected in 2023 and is still affecting in 2024. A lot of rerouting of trade on the Red Sea. Let's see what that had cost global economy and what it could cost us more. We're having this conversation. Joining us all the way from New York in the United States, Captain Rahul Khanna is the global head marine risk consulting for Alliance Commercial. Captain Rahul, good afternoon and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon to you, and thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, so we see this reduction in vessel losses. How do we explain this? I hope it's not because of less trade, because of some of the incidents on the Red Sea.
No, it's not. I think it is good news in whichever way you look at it, because I think a decade ago, shipping industry was losing something like hundreds of ships every year, and now we have had a steady decline of these total losses. And last year, we saw only 26 losses, which is a remarkable improvement from a shipping industry perspective. And some of the reasons why this has happened, or why this has happened over the years, has to do with a greater regulatory influence, the greater regulatory outreach of the regulations that international maritime organizations have put forward, but also a self-realization by a lot of the shipping companies and other stakeholders involved in the industry who have stepped up to ensure that the shipping industry, which is the lifeline of trade across the world, basically, runs in a way which is safer for everybody. We've had strings of large losses, very, very expensive losses in the last few years, but that is the dynamics of the industry, that the number of losses have actually come down. But if you allow me to say that it is not so good news that the value or the cost or the claim for these losses have actually gone up. So on one hand, this is great news and we should continue going forward. But on the other hand, I think we need to ensure some of the other risks that are plaguing the industry needs to be brought under control and mitigated.
On that negative hand, we also have piracy. That increased. What fed into that?
Yeah, I think back in the days of Somali piracy, we had a huge increase in the piracy. Ships were hijacked, crew members were hijacked, and there were ransom demands. And this was becoming a really big hotspot. The Horn of Africa region, Gulf of Aden, was becoming such a big problematic area. And then the industry worked together. We had international naval forces in the region patrolling all the area. We also had armed guards on board these vessels at the expense of ship owners and charterers. And that sort of put the problem at bay, and we had this problem under control. But now what's happening, because of the Red Sea conflict and all the problems that are coming in with this, I think there's an opportunistic way in which the pirates have come back into the scene. And we have seen an increase in number of attacks on ships passing through the Red Sea area. And this has been really concerning because not only has a large amount of shipping started to reroute from Red Sea area down to the Cape of Good Hope, increasing the times, but also it is putting the lives of crews at risk. And it is also putting a lot of time, additional time to the supply chains, which is also impacting a lot of people, a lot of countries, a lot of businesses, not just in Africa, but across the world. I think the piracy is always an opportunistic business, if I may call it a business. But whenever there is an opportunity where people can do these things, pirate attacks, in hiding behind a bigger conflict, it tends to reoccur. And this is what it seems like is happening. The number of crews and ships which have been, excuse me, have been hijacked has also increased, which is seriously concerning.
Yeah, very concerning. And it's not just that. The tension in the Red Sea obviously has also led to a lot of rerouting. And this also comes with high costs to Africa and some other countries.
Yes, absolutely. I think some of the ships could take as much as 15 more days to reach their destinations now because they're trying to avoid the whole region. What that does is have a knock-on effect on all the supply chain. So you're getting the goods which are manufactured in the Far East to Africa, Europe, and even America a lot later. And then the empty containers have to come back all the way, and that's also getting delayed. So we have a big knock-on effect. We have already seen the prices of shipping containers has gone up quite considerably in the last year or so after this conflict, because it's taking not just the time, but also it's a cost increase. Ships have to burn a lot more additional fuel. 15 days could mean almost $1 million or probably even more in additional fuel that is burned by some of these ships. And that is playing quite a bit of a concern in the suppliers and receivers' minds, because their supply chains are getting disrupted. Piracy is adding to that problem, which is why we are concerned from piracy perspective, not just because of the crew and ship owners being at risk, but also because it affects the supply chain from an already vulnerable supply chain because of the whole Red Sea crisis.
And it doesn't look like there's a shortcut to this, except the problem on the Red Sea and the countries involved is handled. The world would continue to see these negative impacts.
It will be, and the unfortunate thing is that shipping always has been an easy target for a lot of these players who would try to disrupt shipping because it gets them in the limelight and it gives them the opportunity to actually be on the world stage without doing too much work themselves. So shipping, unfortunately, on the other hand, is virtually defenseless when it comes to terrorist attacks, and especially the way these attacks have been carried out now with missiles and drones. And the crew members on board ships are never trained for this. They are never, brought up to fight such kind of risk and peril. They understand the safety of ships with the operations of the ship, but this is a completely new way of looking at risk, and they are certainly definitely not prepared. So it is down to the political players around in the area, in the region, and the global players for that matter, to address this problem, because at the end of the day, as you rightly said in the beginning, 90% of world trade is carried on ships, and this is our lifeline.
And so I think insurance companies, by now, they would have adjusted their premium and all of that. Insurance should be more expensive by now.
I think insurance as an industry is a testament to the fact that whenever these conflicts have happened, insurance has stood behind the ship owners. Yes, the premiums do get affected, obviously, because premium is a function of risk. And if the risk suddenly spikes up substantially or goes multifold, premiums do get affected. How much and everything, obviously, that's probably not part of today's discussion. But I guess there is an impact of that. What is important for shipping industry is that they continue to support their clients, whether it's cargo owners, whether they are ship owners or businesses around the world in these difficult times where the conflict is playing out in different parts of the world, whether it's the Red Sea crisis, whether it's the Ukraine-Russia crisis, or whether there's the other issues that are plaguing the shipping industry. For example, the Panama Canal drought situation, which was also restricting ships going through and also adding delays to the supply chains.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for sharing the results from Alliance, talking about maritime safety for 2023. Captain Rahul Khanna, Global Head, Marine Risk Consulting with Alliance Commercial. Thank you for your views.
Thank you very much.
All right, now let's take a break. When we come back from that break, we do have other things waiting for you on the program, starting with the market, see how intraday numbers are looking like.